Welcome dear students to this lecture on strategic human resource management. We are discussing a topic of unit 1, this is lecture 5 and the topic is development and delivery of HR strategies. I am Dr. Tripti Barthwal, I am Director, Lal Bahadur Shastri Institute of Management and Development Studies, Lucknow. So, now you are, I am sure, aware of the concept of strategic human resource management, how this concept was developed and what is the relevance of this concept over the normal concept of human resource management. Now, we will discuss today, as is obvious from the topic, that how the HR strategies are formulated and then how they are implemented. So, let us talk about the first part, process of development of HR strategies. Now, when we are talking about strategies, when we are talking about strategic HRM, then it is very obvious that everything what we do here has to be aligned with the overall business objectives. So, before starting on our journey of formulation of HR strategies, it is very important for the people who are responsible for formulation of HR strategies to develop a full understanding of what the company is, what is its vision, what is its mission, then what are its goals and objectives, what is its business definition. Because now we are taking the organization as a whole, we are not taking a micro perspective that only what we are doing is confined, its impact will be confined to the HR department. Now, over a period of time, through the past few lectures, you must have realized that HR is not only a means of getting competitive advantage, it is a source of competitive advantage. It is how the people understand the business, how they see it, how they perceive it and how they are ready to contribute to it will determine how far the business goes in achieving its objective. So, that is why it is very imperative that the strategists, they understand that what are the company's objectives and then the other things will follow. The second thing is evaluate the HR capability. Now, once I have seen that this is our long term goal, this is what we want to achieve in our business, then obviously HR being the most important resource in the organization, rather it is above and over all the resources in an organization, because it is that resource which brings kind of activity and energy to all other resources. All other resources will lie dormant in absence of HR being very active and competent. So, whatever we plan, whatever we formulate will be limited by the capability of our people. So, once we have seen that what we want to achieve in the future, we also now have to see how capable, what is the level of competency, what is the level of skill of our existing human resources, because as I said that it is only through these people that we will be able to achieve those objectives. So, we have to all our plans and all our strategy formulations have to fall in line with the capability of HR. Now, in order to understand the capability of HR, we need to create a skills inventory. Now, I am sure you must have heard about skills inventory. Skills inventory is like where we make an inventory of raw material, we make an inventory of finished goods. So inventory means a stock. So here also in terms of HR, we are kind of seeing our stock, we are seeing our reserve, we are seeing what is available to us. And in a skills inventory, we try to find out, or we try to gather a picture of what are the skills, experiences, qualification, trainings, perceptions of our employees of the organization, so that we know that the total, what is the overall combined ability, capability of our people. So we prepare a skills inventory. Then the third step will be analyze the current HR capacity in light of the company's goals. So now once we have formulated the skills inventory, everything is before us. Now we will kind of try to tally, try to correlate that what are our objectives, these are the skills available, and now in the light, in the context of the goals which the company wants to achieve, we will try to bring a match, or we will try to bring out an analysis as to how far through these capabilities, through these skills, the objectives of the organization can be achieved. So for this, it is very important to conduct a performance review. And there is one thing called skills, there is one thing called experience, qualification, all that is good, right? But we also need to know currently at what level our people are performing, right? Because when we talk about skills, qualifications, experiences, that is a good data, that is a good thing to start off, but that is all historical in nature, in the sense that this particular employee or these particular employees have these background, they have undergone these things, or they know these things, right? But how much they are able to put it into practice, what is their current status, somebody may be very well qualified, but his performance level may not be according to what we expect from that person, he may not be performing that well. On the contrary, someone may not be that much qualified, but he may be performing much more, people may be saying that he performs much more than the most and the best qualified people. So that is here, that is the point where the performance review or the performance appraisal plays a very important role, because it gives us a real time picture of what is the level of performance of our employees, and with that level of performance, what should we expect from them in terms of the achievement of objectives of the organization. And I am sure that you are aware of the various techniques of performance appraisal. Very common activity in an organization, generally conducted either biannually or at least annually. It is surely for sure done in the organization, and we have some organizations go for a little traditional methods of performance appraisal, but most of the organizations now, they have started to use very modern and scientific methods of appraisal, which give them the right kind of picture related to the performance of the employees and their possible contribution to the goals of the organization. So we have techniques like management by objectives, then we have 360-degree appraisals, we have bars, behaviorally anchored rating scales. So we have many methods which depending on the organization and what suits it best, it must be having some system of performance appraisal, and on that basis it has to conduct a performance review of its people. right? And it is very, very important when we are conducting a performance review that we have to be very, very unbiased in it. Because if the HR manager is biased in it, or the senior is biased in it, then it will not reflect a good picture, the real picture. It will give a very fake perception regarding the abilities of the employees. And what will happen that maybe if we are biased, positively biased, then we give very high ratings to our people, and as a result of that it is thought that these people will be able to realize these high objectives, right, high level objectives, and ultimately at the end of the day it fails, and then we are not able to understand why it failed, and probably it failed because the performance review system was not subjective, it was not objective, it was subject to certain biases and errors. So, that is why performance review should be conducted very, very impartially and very, very clearly. So, with performance review, organizations can also go for the what is called, if you have heard of this term, potential appraisal of the employees. Potential appraisal of the employees, right? That is this is the current performance, but this is the current performance on the basis of certain current targets, right? Now, in the future when we pursue different goals, then the targets will also change, and then do these people have the potential to kind of maneuver themselves according to the changed objectives, and do they have the potential to learn, unlearn and learn, and to very, very fast adapt to the changing conditions. Then the next step is estimate the company's future HR requirements. Now, obviously when we are thinking of certain objectives to be achieved by the organization, then we also may require more human resources, than we may require to increase the number of human resources in the future. So, the next step would be, because everything is dependent on the people, so next step will be that we have to estimate, or we have to kind of forecast the future requirements, how many people, what type of people we will require in the future. And for that you conduct human resource planning, which you must be aware about, which ensures that the right kind of person is available at the right place and at the right time. So, this is how the company will estimate the future HR requirements. It will conduct a demand analysis, that is, in the future the work is going to increase, the objectives are going to change in this way. So, if we require these many people as of now, then how many more people will we require in the future? So, we can conduct a demand analysis, right? And you must have studied methods like regression analysis, ratio trend analysis, or maybe managerial judgment method, Delphi method, to estimate what will be the future demand of human resources in the organization. And then obviously if we require more people in the future, then from where these people are going to come? What will be the sources of supply of the human resource for the organization? Now, when we are forecasting for the HR requirements, then it also helps us to determine the following. When we are trying to estimate what is the demand for the future, then it also helps us to determine the following. The first is new jobs and roles required to secure the future of the company. So, what will be existing roles and existing responsibilities are there? Are there any new roles or jobs which are likely to be created in the future, which are not existing in the organization? Then skills required by current employees to undertake the responsibilities of new jobs and roles. Now, if new jobs will be created, right, then obviously the job descriptions and job specification for these new jobs will be different from the existing jobs. If they are not different, then there will be no new jobs. So, are our people capable of handling these new jobs, and if there is a gap in the capability, then what will be those skills which will be required by the current employees to handle the new set of jobs, the new set of responsibilities which they will encounter because of handling new jobs. Then whether the employees' expertise are being sufficiently utilized. So, that also we have to see that our employees, some of our employees may be very competent in few areas. So, are we using those skills in the most proper way? Are we optimizing on the usage of those skills? And whether current HR personnel and practices can sustain the company's growth. This is also very important to see that the current HR practices, and if is it possible that whatever we are doing as of now, can it lead to a long term growth? Do we anticipate, are we changing just for the sake of changing, or is it because it is requirement? If the current state can lead us to higher growth in the future, then why are we changing? Right. So, these questions also the forecasting will also help us to get answers to these questions. Then next is determine the tools required for employees to complete the job. Now, you have estimated the demand, future demand, now, and then we have also seen from where the supply will come. Now, we require, we have to bridge that gap, and then we need to know what are the tools which are required by employees to complete the job. Now, tools can be like if any software is required, some automation is required, some training is required, some skill updation is required. So, we need to look at that. And we all know that and or maybe our existing maybe team leader requires some new people with new skills in their team. So, that also has to be seen. So, that will come from the supply part of estimating the human resource requirement, and that supplies of human resource can be met through external sources, they can be met through internal sources as well. External sources meaning thereby you can give advertisements, you can go for campus recruitments, you can go for placement agencies, etc., etc. And in internal sources, we can go for promotions, we can go for transfers, and we can go for the service extension of people who have retired. They can be given some more years to work with the organization. Then implement the human resource management strategy. Now, after everything has been finalized, now the human resource strategy is now complete before us. Now, that has to be put into action. And what will we do here? We can have certain supporting plans to put this human resource management strategy into action. The first is recruitment. Recruitment, that you create a pool of human resource which you think that they are you are inviting job applicants for your organizational vacancies. So, that will be recruitment. Then obviously, you will be screening from them. So, that will be selection. Then hiring, you select people and then you place them, you give them appointment letter, they start the job. Then onboarding and training, very important. Orientation programs go a long way in making the employee comfortable and making him understand what is expected of him, right? Otherwise, there will be high turnover in the organization. So, onboarding and training programs will be of great relevance in organizations. And then we have to go for evaluation and corrective action. So, once the strategy has been put into action, after some results have come, we will see how far they have been achieved, they have met our expectations. If they have met our expectations, fine, otherwise we need to improve, work upon them in the future, so that whatever we expected out of them is achieved properly. Now, coming to the delivery part of HR strategies, right. So, delivery, you have formulated the strategy, we have already discussed. Now, we have to put into action, right, and we have put it into action, and we see that there has been a problem. We have not been able to achieve those results which were expected or anticipated, right. So, there is a problem in the delivery of HR strategies, and this the one major reason for this gap is there is a gap between strategy formulation and its delivery, and that is a major problem. And the factors which cause this gap are tendency of long serving employees to stick to status quo. The employees who have spent years in the organization, they get so used to doing whatever they are doing, that they do not want any change, right. They do not want them to be moved or them asked to stretch beyond what they are doing. So, change is always painful for everybody, but existing employees are most likely to resist changes because they want to be doing whatever they are doing. So, that creates a problem in the delivery. Second is extent of trust on top management. In some organizations, or unfortunately, maybe because of certain actions of the management, employees may not have a very positive perception about them. They may feel that whatever management is saying or doing is not at all good for the employees, and it is going to, in the long run, it is going to boomerang on them. So, they do not give their best to the implementation of the strategies. Then, perceived fairness of the initiative. This is also very important, that again, the management is saying something, the policies or the strategies have been implemented saying that these are the objectives which need to be achieved, but actually there is something else, and there are certain people who are being favored with these strategies, others are being left out of it. So, once the people see that there is lack of impartiality in the strategies, then they are likely to oppose it. And then inadequate assessment of the environmental factors. So, HR also operates in a dynamic environment, and if government brings out a new policy related to manpower, employees, or some labor law, or any other competitor does something related to their own employees, so that impact is going to come on us, and we have not been able to kind of assess the changes in the environment. And lack of established support systems. That is like our supporting plans are not good enough, that our strategy, main strategy is good, we could have achieved good results out of it, but the supporting plans are not good enough, or they have failed to deliver the kind of results which were expected out of them. So, we have not been able to deliver the HR strategy in the proper way. So, we will just take an example of HR strategies of Netflix. One of their most discussed policies is their approach to employee leave and expenditure, and you will be pleasantly surprised and even shocked to know the HR strategies of Netflix, how they keep their employees together and how they keep them motivated and how they ensure that the employees are with them, they have trust in them. This is a part of their commitment to giving their employees freedom and responsibility. So, rather than allocate a set amount of annual leave, employees are simply instructed to take holidays as and when they wish, as long as it does not cause harm to the business, right. So, this is such a beautiful combination of, because they feel that if you increase the freedom to employees, they become more and more responsible. So, they give a lot of freedom to their employees. Similarly, there is no set amount of time allowed for parental leave, with parents free to return to work whenever they feel and their newborn are ready. So again, lot of empowerment in the hands of employees. This freedom also applies to company spending and expenses such as travel. So whatever company spends on employee travel is also given to the hands of employees. Rather than set spending limits, the responsibility is put into the hands of the employee, and they are trusted to use their best judgment on how much is appropriate to spend. Now, the HR motto is that they put people first over procedures and processes. So, their HR motto is that putting people first over procedures and policies, but this motto you must have heard of so many organizations, but Netflix is that company which actually does it. Other companies lose sight of this motto, but Netflix actually practices it. And another case study is that of Delta Airlines, a very famous airlines of USA. In the 1970s and 80s, Delta Airlines became the premier US airline for customer service, with employees who went above and beyond the call of duty. So employees were more than willing to serve the customers. The company's HR strategy helped build the skills, motivation and opportunities for employees to deliver great customer service that allowed Delta to attract business travelers who paid premium prices to travel. So, customers were also very happy with the service of the company. Delta's success shows just how important HR strategy can be, especially in its impact on companies' performance. A great reputation in the industry enabled Delta to recruit and select only the best employee. Delta invested more than most airlines in training. Then Delta's internal promotion system led to long employee tenure and a workforce with a wealth of experience and knowledge. Relatively high pay also encouraged employees to stay with Delta for the long haul because they believed the company cared about them. But 1990s, things changed. There were changes in the business trends, competitive climate, and after straight years of record financial losses, CEO Ron Allen rolled out a new strategy called Leadership 7.5. In Delta's new HR strategy, training dollars were cut, experienced employees were laid off and replaced with contingent employees. Delta put fewer flight attendants on each flight. Delta Airlines leadership and pay was frozen or cut for just about all employee groups. And Delta Airlines Leadership 7.5 moved the company from a commitment to a control HR strategy, focusing on reducing cost and not worrying about employee commitment. In a front page Wall Street Journal article about the Leadership 7.5 strategy, the CEO was quoted as saying, "Employee morale is not what it used to be, but so be it." He was not cared. Why? Because the new strategy had resulted in the record profits for Delta in 1994. But there was trouble brewing, and the day after the article came out, Delta employees began wearing "so be it," and there was decline in engagement, job satisfaction. There were a lot of customer complaints, and then they rose in percentage, and after that, finally Delta had lost its core customers, and by 2000 Delta profits had come down, and then in 2008, by lots of difficulties, it emerged from bankruptcy, but it was never the same. So that is how HR strategies are very, very important for the organization. Thank you so much.